I'd like to officially welcome everybody to our webinar today. This is really exciting for us because we're rolling out the Pointselect Digital. There's been a lot of activity around the Meridia offices, a lot of talk, a lot of action, and this kind of represents the culmination of everything we've been working on for actually months now. I'm Adrian Larson. With me, we have Kimberly Thompson, LAC, and we are going to get going right away. I want to say hi to everybody. We've got more people: Denmark, Fort Lauderdale, Virginia, St. Louis. Hey, special hi to St. Louis. That's my hometown. Born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. So, Brian, welcome. Glad to have you joining from home. And we'll get going. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I just need a second to get my settings ready here. And I want to start today's presentation on the Stim Plus Pro by, just kidding, on the Pointselect, by talking about the Stim Plus Pro. As you know, this tool has been our favorite tool for years and years. I was first introduced to the Stim Plus Pro over 10 years ago. I went to a seminar where it was used. As soon as I saw it, I was completely hooked because auriculoterapy is powerful. It's great. It's very useful. It's really effective. And I had been looking for a tool that would make it easy to find the points and easy to treat the points. And the Stim Plus Pro was it. I mean, it's compact. It's easy to use. It's sensitive in locating points. It was absolutely wonderful. And so I started out trying to get the right to even sell them. And we're getting a lot of noise. Kimberly, it might be your microphone. Is anything going on in your office?
I'll turn it off.
Yeah, let's see if that improves it. Okay, anyway, so it took me a long time to even get the right to sell the Stim Plus Pro. And then we started selling it. We started teaching it. We started utilizing it. And pretty soon we became the U.S. distributor for the whole U.S. And it has been wonderful. And I absolutely still love it and stand behind it. But today we're talking about kind of the next step in the Pointselect Digital. Now, as we went through the process of kind of bringing auriculotherapy on board and into the technology realm, the next thing we noticed was that there wasn't a lot of good options for finding out what points to treat. Where do you get the charts? How do you know what you should use for any specific condition? And really, I started to collect books, and I got a stack of books. I've circulated some pictures of that. And I would go through the books, and if I was treating someone, I would have to find the right book and flip to the right page and find the right chart. We've been through that. It's not fun. And so years ago, Kimberly and I sat down, one of the first projects we ever worked on together, and we said, we've got to come up with a computer program, piece of software where we can, just with a click, pull up any chart and then make it left ear and right ear so we can have any ear. And that way we'll know what to treat and how to treat it and when to treat it. And so we did. We spent a long time working on it. We put it together, and it has been huge. It's made a big difference for auriculotherapy in the world. And we're really proud of that. And so kind of the next quest that I went on was looking for the next generation tool. And here's a picture of some of my collection. And literally, it is some of my collection. I didn't bring all the big desktop size tools into this picture, but for years I've bought any tool I could find that looked like it would work for auriculotherapy. I've tested them. I've gone literally around the world looking for tools, and I still always came back to the Stim Plus Pro. It was my go-to tool because it was well made, it was light, it was convenient, effective, all of that stuff. Well, I came across this, and I would like to stop and I would like to give homage to the venerable StimFlex 400A. This tool has been around for decades, and although it's the size of a briefcase, it has been, up till now, the only other tool I found out there that could do what I wanted to do. Bipolar location, bipolar treatment, the frequencies that I needed. Fabulous tool, but it's around $5,000 and it's out of production. It's not made anymore. Used ones are hard to find. But I did want to pay some homage to that for paving the way and being a pioneer in the auriculotherapy world. So this brings us now to the Pointselect. When I ran across this, well, I'll tell you that story in a minute, but the thing I love about the Pointselect, it's full-featured, powerful. It's surprisingly easy to use, and that's an important point because initially it wasn't easy to use, and there's a story behind that, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. And it's highly effective. But here's the story about how I first got involved with Pointselect Digital. I was literally in China at the Canton Trade Fair. And I was there specifically looking for these kinds of tools. And I went to every vendor, and the Canton Trade Fair is massive. It's thousands of vendors. And so I spent days there going to all the vendors, looking for tools that could potentially be used for auriculotherapy. And I ran across the Pointselect Digital, and I bought one and brought it home. And I was going through all the various tools that I had, and I bought a bunch of them on that trip, and testing them. And when I got to the Pointselect Digital, it had all these buttons on it, and I couldn't quite figure out how to use it or what they did, and it wasn't really intuitive. But it had a training disc, a DVD. So I popped in the DVD, and I'll be honest, it was not good. In fact, the accent was so bad it was really hard to even understand. And then it had this background piano music the whole time, and it after about 5 minutes of that, I gave up and put it in the pile with the others and said, well, nice try, but it's no good. And literally, I put it in the closet. I have a closet full of these tools. It sat for years, and I feel kind of foolish now, but to everything there is a season, and apparently the timing wasn't right for me at that point. Then a few months ago, actually more than a year ago, for some reason we pulled it out again, started looking, and I talked to Kimberly, and I said, Kimberly, check this out. Tell me, is this anything? I've had this sitting in my tool closet for years. Is this anything? And so Kimberly started looking around on YouTube. Tell us what you found, Kimberly.
So I remember you asking me if this was a good tool. And I even have my original notes as I was trying to figure out how to use it. And I was watching all of the YouTube videos, and it would usually be some guy in a corner at a trade show trying to teach all the dynamic of it. And I couldn't figure it out fully on how to use it to the full capabilities. And so I remember going back to your office and saying, yeah, this isn't a good tool. We're not going to like this, because I didn't have what it took to figure it out. I mean, you gave me a Chinese booklet, and that's all I had.
Right. And so at that time, Kimberly's opinion was kind of the same as mine. Well, we got to write this thing off. But I also remember looking at it going, no, wait a minute. Looking at the specs, this thing has it all. This is the right tool for the job. We just got to figure out how to use it. And Kimberly said, well, I looked at these YouTube things and it's not any help. And I said, yeah, but what if we could figure it out and we could create our own training, create our own videos? Do you think this could be useful? And so we said, oh, let's give it a try. Well, that's kind of the story about how it came along. So I got in touch with the manufacturer. We've been working with them for over a year. We created all new training. We did videos, a couple of different training videos, one which is kind of like the manual, the how to use the device, and the other is clinical. Here's how to actually clinically use it on a patient. We created a whole new website. We put together a lot of other training materials and some extra things that are going to be really useful to practitioners. And so having spent all this time getting it all together and actually starting to use it clinically, I've been absolutely amazed. So much for the story. Let's go ahead and jump into what the Pointselect Digital can do and why I think it's the best choice for auricular therapy. So I've got some bullet points up here, and I want to go through each one of these specifically and talk about what that means, what it means to you clinically, and how you can use it in your clinic to get the best results. So bipolar point detection and automatic treatment, adjustable sensitivity for locating points, that's important. You can do it with ear and body points, and that's a big deal because most people that do auricular therapy also like to treat points on the body. It's got the full set of frequencies for whatever you might need, and it's gentle enough to use on the ear, but it's got all the power you need for body points. And so when I look at that, I'm going, wow, this is the full meal deal. It kind of has it all. So let's go through each one of these features specifically. And I'll talk about each one, give you a little bit of detail about what it means, demo about how to use it, and then we'll talk about it. We'll take questions on it. And so we'll just spend a few minutes on features and getting to know the device. Before I do that, let me just jump in and see if we have any questions up so far. And thus far, nope, looks like we're good. Okay, bipolar point detection and auto treatment. And I got to tell you a funny story. So when I mentioned this, I was talking to a casual friend that doesn't work in the field, and he said, "Boy, you know, you've really been busy at work. What's going on?" I said, "Oh, we've got this device, and we're really excited about it, and we're releasing it and launching it to the world, making a big splash." And he said, "Well, what's so good about it?" And I said, "Well, one thing is that it's bipolar. It'll detect bipolar." And he said, "Oh, that's great. So many people suffer with that. You know, I have a cousin who's manic depressive, and it's so difficult." And and I said, "Oh, wrong bipolar. I guess I need to be a little more clear. Not bipolar disorder, but bipolar detection and treatment." And what that means is the device is capable of detecting points that need tonification and that need sedation. The reason it's called bipolar is that we're talking about positive or negative polarity. Now, you know, you take a magnet, and you've got positive and negative poles, and they repel each other or attract each other. And electricity works the same way. You've got a positive and negative pole on a battery. Well, auricular points are the same way. Some are positive and some are negative. Some need tonification, some need sedation. And if you have a monopolar device, you can only detect one or the other. You can't detect both. But a bipolar device can detect both, and it's very ingenious the way it does it, because as you scan the ear, the probe has an outer ring and an inner tip, and it compares continuously the surrounding skin of the point with the point itself. And therefore, it can come up with a differential. And if that differential is positive, or if that differential is negative, it can detect it. And then based on that point, it automatically knows whether to tonify or sedate. You don't even have to think about it. You detect the point, you hit the treatment button, and it automatically gives the point what it needs. It's brilliant. I absolutely love that. And that's not new. I want to say that's been around, like on the StimFlex. That's been around for 30 years. But this is the first time I've seen it in a device that's both affordable and small enough to use and carry around.
Adrian, when you talk about the differences between because we were able to find electrically active points with the StimPlus, and that's what made it so amazing, which changed from just poke and hope and stick some needles in, and then moved it to finding the electrically active point. And that was the big deal, which changed our world for auriculoterapy with the StimPlus. But can you talk about the difference? Both of them find electrically active points.
Yeah, absolutely. In simplest terms, the StimPlus Pro is tonification only. It'll find points that need tonification. It'll tonify them. That's that. It's positive polarity. It does not find points that need sedation, and it does not compare. So you may be missing, half the picture with it.
Exactly. That's why it's been so amazing to watch the differences in the two, but I thought I would throw that out there.
Yeah, yeah, and I will tell you that even if you're only finding one pole of points, you can do a lot of good. I'm not putting it down, but you can do even more when you can see the whole picture, not part of the picture.
So why have
So,
good, have better?
oh, go ahead, sorry.
Why have good, have better?
Amen, absolutely. Let's see. I see there's some questions coming in, and I'll get to those. But first, I want to talk about how to actually set it up and how to actually do it when you are setting up the device. And so I'm going to try an experiment here. I'm just going to turn my camera right down here to where I've got my device. And you can see I've got my white one here too. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I've got my device right here, and I'm going to attempt to show you the settings, and I'm going to hope that I can make it clear enough for you on the screen. So what let's do, I'm going to, let's turn off the slide, and I'm going to go full screen here to be as big as possible. And so when I turn on the device here, yeah, there's a little reflection. Hopefully you can kind of see that. And it says M, auto, and ear. And in our training, we go through very specifically all of these buttons and how to set everything up. Right now, I'm just going to give you a couple of quick pointers. I know a lot of you that are joining us today have already purchased this device, and so we'll consider this kind of a quick start. But if you have purchased it, please make sure to watch the training that we put together for you. You're going to be very glad you did. Okay, so there's a button marked M and a button marked E. There, maybe that's better. A button marked M and a button marked E. And M, most simply, is just for mode, and E is for edit. So right now, we are in M, auto, and ear. And M on the screen means measurement. I know it's confusing to have two M's, an M for measurement and an M for mode, but that's the way it is. And that's part of why some good training is in order for this device. So if I hit M here again, now instead of M auto, it says M manual. And we'll explain auto and manual in a minute. And then last, if I hit it again, I get an S. And an S is for stimulation. So measurement mode, stimulation mode. So far, so good. And all I've done is click M so far to go between those modes. Now, another pointer, the word auto here means automatic sensitivity. Versus manual, I can go gold, silver, body points, ear points, and I can choose manual sensitivity by setting how sensitive it is right here. I typically stick with auto sensitivity. The only time I would go manual sensitivity is if I wanted to turn down the sensitivity because I was detecting too many points. So normally my go-to is to keep it on M auto and ear. And now if I hit the edit button, I can go gold and it will detect only points that need tonification. I can go silver and it will detect only points that need sedation. Or I can hit it again and I get a little body picture here. And that means it's set for body points, not ear points. Hit it again and I'm back to ear. So with that being said, I'm going to set this down. I'm going to grab my probe. And right now I'm just going to probe my hand because that's easy. We're going to do some ears in a minute here. But right now, if I just scan across my hand, if you can hear that, I've got a pulse tone. It's beep, 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 beep. And you can see my conductivity here on the display. And you can see the light has lit up on the probe. And it said SI on the screen. That means I found a silver point or a point that needed to be sedated. Now, if I scan around again, I found a gold point. And that's a point that needs to be tonified. And so as I scan around, I can find gold, I can find silver, and I'll get a different light on the probe. There's the light for silver. Whoops, there's the light for gold. So I was going back and forth between a silver point and a gold point. And that'll tell you what kind of point you found, whether it needs to be tonified or sedated. And it's just that simple. And so then once you have found the point and you push the treatment button, then it will treat, and it will treat based on exactly what polarity you found. So in a nutshell, bipolar detection and treatment is kind of the default setting. It's just automatic. You don't have to worry about it. You set it up that way and you can treat. And when we do some ear scanning in a few minutes here, we'll put that all together and show you how that works. Meanwhile, we'll put the camera back up here and we'll talk about that. I'm going to now, let's check questions here. Got to look over on my other screen and see what we have. Let's see, I bought this last night. Somebody says, a very nice gentleman helped me even though you guys were closed. I appreciate that he was willing to help me. He was very kind. Tell him thanks for me, please. Okay, we'll find out who that was and thank him. Lenny says, does the bipolar also work on body points or just the auricular points? Technically speaking, it's only for auricular points because it's designed around very small points. The auricular points are quite tiny and quite precise. And so it's designed around precision. On body points where they're much larger, because of the way the probe is set up, you're not going to be able to have the inner and the outer and have a differential between them that you could use for detecting on body points. So on body points, it's monopolar. On auricular points, it's bipolar.
So just a clarification there. You have a special setting when you're doing the ear, which allows you to test for positive and negative. That there's an extra piece that comes off, and then it becomes ready for body, and then you treat with the specific frequencies for the body. Correct? We lost him.
Oh, sorry about that. I was muting my mic so I wouldn't interfere with you talking. On the body points, yes, that's correct. You have a setting for body, and so it's not looking for gold and silver at that point. It's simply looking for points that show increased conductivity, decreased resistance. So at that point, it's working much like most other point detectors on the market.
Right.
Okay, good. Let's see. I don't see any other questions popped up there right now. Can it work on animals' ears? Well, hey, that's a good question. I don't see why not, honestly. Animals have auricular points just like humans. Some will be positive, some will be negative, just like humans. And so I haven't tried it on an animal, but I don't see any reason why not. You have an animal that'll let you scan their ear with it? Give it a try. Let us know what you find, too. That's really an interesting question. Thank you. Okay. Looks like we've covered the questions so far. I'm going to jump back in and we'll talk about the next feature now. We got to keep things moving along so we can finish on time for everybody. Okay, here we go. So we talked about bipolar detection and automatic treatment and what that means. Adjustable sensitivity. I kind of touched on this just a little bit. And I'm gonna be gutsy here. I'm gonna attempt to just do a live demo using my hand right now and hope that it shows it properly. So here we go. I'll just do this and we'll turn this back down here again. Okay, and so I've got it turned on. And right now I've got it set for auto. I'm going to set it for manual. And as I scan my hand, see if we can see that. there are points everywhere. Everywhere I touch, I've got points. It's constantly lit up. But if we turn down the sensitivity a little bit, so and as I turn it down, you can see the display goes down. So I've turned it down to sensitivity of 7. And on the hand, that's still, because the hand's highly conductive. If I turn it down even more, yeah, still finding a lot of points. Well, the moral of the story is, if you're doing it on an ear and you turn down sensitivity, you'll find fewer points. Part of the reason we're finding a lot on my hand right now is because I'm in the middle of presenting live to a lot of people who are watching, and so I've got a little more perspiration going on, which increases conductivity across the board, and I'm not sure I can turn down the sensitivity enough to start to be discerning. I do know that in the past when I've found, or when I've turned down sensitivity, then it's very easy to have, to filter out points and only show certain ones. But that's how adjustable sensitivity works. And you would do that when you're just finding too many points or everything is lit up. Go ahead.
So when you were finding points just now, it wasn't something that everybody could hear. So I just wanted to plug in there. So it was the lights that were flashing that on the device that was telling you that you found the points.
Yeah.
Hearing the beep beep like you normally would. Did you have the volume down?
It might not have been picking up very well. And the not only the lights, but also on the display itself, the bars moving up and down. As you find points, the bars move down.
Okay.
So it was dancing up and down the whole time as I was scanning along my hand.
Somebody just asked, what is the best way to clean the tip?
Oh, that's a great question. Honestly, the best way that I've found is to take an alcohol prep pad, the kind that's all folded up that you just tear open the little packet and pull it out, and run it across the alcohol prep pad, because that will get both the outside ring and the inside tip. As you run it across there, as you just run it across the pad, that'll clean them both. I recommend that over trying to, get in here, because the risk, you don't want to get alcohol or other cleaner down inside. So if you just run it across the pad a couple times, normally that'll give you everything you need. There we go. Good question. Thank you. James J. says, when scanning points, is it necessary to manually switch between searching for positive points and searching for negative points? Or does the instrument automatically determine if the point is positive or negative when searching? Great question. It does automatically determine. And when we've got it set here, I'll just, as we did before, I'll just pop this down here again so we can see. As I'm scanning, so there's a gold point and it says GO. Perhaps you can see that. And if we can find a silver point, mostly gold there, there's a silver point and it says SI. So it'll automatically detect and automatically treat, unless I manually tell it that I only want to find silver, which I can do with this edit button. As I hit E, right now it says GO for gold, SI for silver, and so I can tell it only find gold or only find silver. If I hit it again, then it's body, hit it again, then it's back to ear, where it will find both. So good question, James. Thank you. Okay, let's, this camera, by the time we're done, I might knock this thing clean down. That'll be good. All right, let's jump back into presentation. We've got a couple more features to talk about, and then we're going to do some demos. So here we go. We talked about adjustable sensitivity for locating points. Ear and body points. And we've already touched on this just a little bit, and I'll just say a couple of things. When you set it for ear or set it for body, it changes the electrical parameters, of course, but there's one other thing that you do when searching for body points, and let me show you how that works. Take my camera back down. Okay. So here we have the tip, and I've explained how it has an outer and an inner tip. The outer tip and inner tip and the differential between them is what determines silver and gold, or tonification and sedation. When you're treating body points, that doesn't become applicable because the points are too large. And so we take this excluder and we put it right over that. And what it does is it keeps the outer ring compressed and out of the way. So now you're only working with the inner tip. And then you can use it just like you would. You can scan points, you can treat. In fact, since it's on, I'll just set it for body. And as I scan along here, I'll find a point, and then I can treat it. Now, you'll notice that on body, you don't get the gold and silver indicators because you're not looking for gold and silver points or tonification and sedation. I should point out that the probe says gold and silver. I don't know if the camera will focus that close, but G and S are the lights. And what that means is tonification and sedation. That's just the parlance, the language that they've used. So body points, you set it for body, you put on the tip excluder, and you're ready to scan body points anywhere on the body. And then you can treat them as well. Push the button to treat, just like you would on the ear. So the only thing that changes really is putting on this little tip excluder. So when you open your package and you see the little tip excluder, don't lose it. That's what it's for. All righty. Next, let's jump into the next feature set. Moving right along here, and that is...
Do you want to answer a few questions from that last set?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. Thanks, Kimberly. Yeah, let's answer some questions, and I'll put my camera back up here so I can talk to you. Let's see. First, applications for use with AccuGraph recommendations, tonifying and sedating using positive, negative on the points. Good question. You're not going to be able on body points to choose tonification and sedation. So for tonifying and sedating on body points, if you have to do that, I still recommend either using laser, red tonifies, blue sedates, or using ion pumping cords where you can have a polarity effect and pump from positive to negative to sedate and tonify. Please define frequency set. Oh, I will. Don't worry. There, I just, remember I told you not to lose your point excluder. I just dropped it on the floor. Yeah, we're going to go through frequency sets next. So thanks for that, Spike. We will be right there. Can you use this when someone has a pacemaker? That was Patricia. Great question. And here's what I'm going to say about that. If somebody has a pacemaker, this type of tiny current is not likely to affect the pacemaker. However, if there were to be a problem with the pacemaker, even a month or two down the road, you're going to get blamed. Therefore, out of an abundance of caution, I don't recommend using electrical devices on somebody who has an implanted pacemaker or another implanted electrical device. If they have it, just for the purposes of safety and for liability, I don't recommend using electric on them.
Adrian?
Yeah.
As far as treating on the body, one of the dynamics of AccuGraph is when it gives a recommended point, especially in the basic protocols, it gives you the tonification point or the sedation point that you're treating. So if you just treat it with the frequency from the device, you are already tonifying or sedating based on the point that you're choosing. That was my first thought. And then,
oh yeah, good point.
The next level to that is within the Pointselect, you also have the body frequencies. And so that's something that I'm about to begin experimenting with, is using the right frequency for the acupuncture channels. So you can be very specific as far as, if you're treating the lung channel, treat with the lung frequency. If you're treating the liver channel, treat with the liver frequency. I haven't done
Absolutely.
a lot on that yet, or experimentation. I've been doing ears.
That's a great point, Kimberly. Thank you. And I'm glad you thought of that and brought it up. I kind of went right to the divergent channels protocol in my head, because that's where our heads have been the last few days. Okay. Well, back to frequency. Oh, I see some more questions coming in. It says, does it have an earpiece so patients don't have to hear the sound? No, but you can turn the sound down. It does have adjustable volume. It does not have an earpiece, unfortunately. Next, ironically, I originally thought that point excluder was made for the ear, to make that probe tiny. Good point, Howard. I could see your logic there. Makes sense to me. Have you tried the Agiscope DT? No, unfortunately not available in this country. I've heard about it, but I've never tried one.
I have the Agiscope, but the Agiscope doesn't give me the ability to go into the very specific frequencies. It'll allow me to find points, and it'll detect whether it's positive or negative and treat, but it doesn't know which zone of the ear that you were on, and to give it the specific Noget frequencies.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Thanks, Kimberly. Okay, let's talk a little bit about frequencies. The capability of the device, you've got several options. You can choose your own frequency, or you can use the preset frequencies of Nogier, Barr, or Reininger. So here's kind of a frequency chart. And as you can see, the Nogier frequencies, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 7 of those, 7 Barr frequencies, and then 12 of the meridian frequencies, the Reininger frequencies, where you have a specific frequency for each meridian. And this is what you were talking about, isn't it, Kimberly? Where if you're treating the lung channel, you're going to use the lung frequency.
Yeah, I'm really excited to experiment with that soon.
Yeah, and me too. Right now, I've been so focused on the ear with it that I've only done the Nogier frequencies exclusively.
Well, and the ear is so effective, and we're getting such great results that I've been hesitant to move on, but soon. More research.
Yeah, absolutely. And so here's kind of a little frequency zone chart where you can see how the ear is divided up into various areas. And the old rounded number frequencies that were used, 2.5, 5, 10, 20, 40, 80, it was always just doubling each time. But the more specific frequencies that Nogier actually recommended, they aren't quite like that. The 2.3, not 2.5, and 4.6, not 5, and so on. And so the more precise your device is, the better off you are. And there are, you can get extremely precise, 2.28, 4.56, and so on. I'm very pleased to report that the Pointselect is very precise. It will give you a very close representation of the frequency. Oops, I don't want to get into those graphs yet. So I want to talk just a minute about how to set up frequencies. I'll do a quick demo. And one thing that I want to make clear to everybody is that, because oftentimes there's a lot of confusion about this one. Frequency is for treating. You're not using a frequency when you're detecting, okay? Detecting is detecting. It's using a DC current. It is not using a frequency on there. So when you're detecting points, it doesn't matter what frequency the thing is set for, because it's 2 different modes: measurement, stimulation, M and S on the display. And I just want to make sure we get clear in our heads there's a division there. Detecting, you don't use frequencies. Okay, I've said it as many ways as I can say it. But for treating, you're going to use a specific frequency, and the device always outputs a specific frequency. And really quick, I want to give the definition of frequency, because when you get into electrical terms, it gets a little bit confusing for all of us. Frequency is how many pulses per second. So if the frequency is 10 hertz, then you're going to get 10 electrical impulses every second into that point. 2.3 hertz, which is Nogier frequency A, you're going to get 2.3 impulses per second into that point. And the different areas on the ear respond better to different frequencies of stimulation. So it's pretty straightforward. Once you figure that out, you just, based on the area of the ear you're in, you use that frequency. So let me show you how to do it on the device as best we can. So I turn it on. And now remember I said that frequencies are only for stimulation, not for measurement. So if I'm changing or adjusting frequencies, I don't need to be in the measurement mode. So I click the mode button until I get the S up here at the top. That means I'm in the stimulation mode. And the stimulation mode shows me what frequency I'll be doing. Right now you can see that it says I'm doing 20 volts. It's upside down for me. And 146 hertz. That's 146 times per second. If I hit the edit mode, I can edit my stimulation settings. So I hit edit once, and right now it is the intensity. From 20 volts, I can turn up or down the intensity using the plus and minus arrows on this side. So as I go up, 22, 24, 26, and back down. I like to keep it pretty low for the ear, somewhere between 15 and 30 volts. Much above that, it can get uncomfortable for the patient. And so I kind of keep mine defaulted to 20. That's where I like to stimulate. You can also change that stimulation intensity right here on the probe. So if you happen to be stimulating and it is uncomfortable for the patient, you just hit the minus button and it turns it down right then on the fly, or the plus button to turn it up. It's just like the plus and minus here, but it's in your hand. And that's important because you need to be able to change intensity right while you're stimulating. All right, so that's intensity. If I hit edit again, now I'm editing frequency. And let's see if I can get enough glare off of this to show you. Up here, we see N and G. N means Nogier, G is frequency G. Now we're on Nogier A, which is 2.3, B, which is 4.6, and I'm moving through the list of Nogier frequencies here. Very simple, one click to go from A to B to C to D. If I don't want to use Nogier frequencies, I change the list over here. So now it says B, I'm in the bar frequencies. Bar frequency 1, 2, 3, there we go, 2, 1, just like that. Hit it again, and now I have an R. I'm in the Reininger frequencies. And I can go through them just like that. And if I hit it again, it just says F. F just means frequency, as in you can choose your own. So if I want to treat using 10 hertz, I set it for 10 hertz, and now that's what the output will be. Push that again. And again, over here, I choose the list. Over here, I choose the frequency. So right now, I'm in the Nogier frequencies. And then the last setting, the last edit, is the impulse width. That's how long each impulse lasts. Currently set for 100 microseconds on the device. So I'll get 2.3 impulses per second at 100 microseconds per impulse. So in practical terms, if I'm scanning the ear, and I'm going to put this chart right here. This is a little chart we developed, which I totally love. We've got the left ear and the right ear, the Nogier frequency showing, and we're actually including this when you buy a Pointselect right now during the launch. It comes with this chart, so you can have it right in front of you. If you're scanning someone's ear and it happens to be a left ear, like this ear I've got right there, then you have the chart in front of you and you know what frequency to set until you've learned them all. Now, you'll learn them all pretty quick and pretty soon you won't need the chart, but this is absolutely the best way to learn them fast. So let's suppose I was going to scan this ear, and I'm going to start with this area called the concha, which says I need frequency B, 4.6 hertz. All I have to do to set it for 4.6 hertz is I press and hold my treatment button, and right now you can see it shows me I'm on Nogier A, 2.3 hertz. Well, I press and hold treatment and hit plus, and it just moved up to 4.6. It stayed in Nogier, but I can move through the list with my plus and minus while I'm holding down the treatment button. So I've got my treatment, I've got 4.6 hertz, and so now I would be scanning the concha area of the ear, looking for active points, and when I find one, I press the button and treats at 4.6 hertz. When I'm ready to scan the next area of the ear, where I want to get the superior helix and the antihelix, then I would simply press and hold the T button, go up one, now it's 9.1, as you can see, and I'm ready to treat the yellow area. So it's just that easy. Anytime you want to see your treatment parameters, you can just push the T button, and it will show you the parameters, and you can adjust them right there on the fly. Okay, so that's a little bit about how frequencies work. And we're going to put it all together, and we're going to do a treatment demo in a minute, but I am going to now field some questions about all this that I've just gone through. So let's see if we can get the camera. There we go. And let's take a look at questions. And Kimberly, you can field them too. Whoa, there's a lot of questions coming in here. Let's see, where did we leave off? Oh, okay, so Deborah says, if you're combining with acupuncture, would you treat with needles before or after? That's a great question. I don't have a preference there. It can go either way. A needle treatment takes a long time normally, depending on the style you're using. Electrical is very quick. It's going to be seconds, not minutes. And so it's really kind of up to you. What do you think, Kimberly?
We were having a discussion with multiple practitioners, and there was a time when I would have answered one way, and I'm getting to the point where I would answer a different way. So what I challenge you to recognize as we move forward, and we're going to talk more about some of the amazing things we've been able to do, I challenge you to open up your mind, open up your paradigm. If you always did things one way, and then all of a sudden you're realizing you can get better, more expanded results, then be open to, as you have new tools and more fine-tuned capabilities, you have more opportunities. So I'm not saying I use needles all the time in my clinic, but I can do this treatment without needles. So we'll talk more about that.
Okay, thanks. Next, Howard says, I was loaned an Agroscope DT. I'm also still learning how to use it. Okay, fair enough. Alejandro says, Deborah, mainly after body acupuncture treatment. Thanks, Alejandro, for weighing in on that. Kimberly says, I'll be talking about it. Deborah says, I want to use acupuncture, so looking to combine. Yeah, and you certainly can do needle and this treatment. If you're going to do body needles and then do auricular afterwards to seal the deal, that's Kimberly's phrase. Copyright Kimberly Thompson. It's absolutely a great thing to do. Do your body points and then finish up with the ear. And like Kimberly says, seal the deal. Great way to go.
Can I put I'm teaching about that at FSOMA here in August. I'm doing a 3-hour course on pain-related conditions, and I'm using the body. I'm using multiple devices on the body along with needles at times. I have multiple options, but sealing the deal with auriculoterapy, yeah, I should make that a tagline. Can we copyright that?
Or trademark it, something.
Trademark it. There you go.
There we go. Okay. Larry says, you can detect gold or silver points, but when you press T to treat, is there any difference to the stimulation for gold or silver? Yeah, there is, Larry. Good question. We talked a little about it before. If you find a gold point, that means it's a point that requires tonification. So when you hit the T button to treat, it's going to tonify. And it automatically does that based on the kind of point. Similarly with silver, it needs sedation. You hit the T button, it's going to sedate. And I'm an electrical nerd, okay? You might have seen the video where I actually took both of these apart to see what was inside, and I did a bunch of testing. And that video didn't actually show all the testing I did. I just that was the highlight reel because I didn't want it to be 2 hours long. But yeah, I actually hooked these up to the oscilloscope and then set it up so that it was detecting gold and hit it and watched that it was giving the gold treatment. And then I reversed the polarity and hit it and watched. And yeah, it does it. It's automatic. And I verified it by watching it on the scope. It's pretty cool. Okay. Oh, Kimberly put up a link to her FSOMA, Florida State Oriental Medical Association in Florida, where she'll be teaching. 3 hours, you said, right? Mm-hmm. Outstanding. Okay. Before we do more Q&As, I want to do a little bit of a demo. And so I'm going to ask Shireen to come over here, and we'll maximize the screen. There we go. Okay. Come on over and have a seat in my chair. And we're going to borrow your ear, if we may. Now, I know we're not getting real close up. It's kind of the limitations of doing a webinar. When we do videos, we have much better production capability. But hopefully I can at least show you the process. So I've got my Pointselect right here. I've got it turned on. I'm going to set it for M, auto, and ear. And then I'm going to check my treatment parameters. I'm just holding down the T right now, and I can see that it's set at 20 volts. By the way, when the device turns off, it saves the last settings. So whatever you had it set for is what it's going to be when you turn it back on. And I love that because I can keep it the way I like it. So it's going to treat at 20 volts intensity. That should be comfortable. And it's currently set for 9.1. I'm going to go down to no GA frequency B, which is 4.6. And I'm going to be scanning in the concha, which is 4.6. So with that being the case, and I will try to hold this where people can see it, and then we'll scan. Okay, and right off the bat, whoops, I've got a silver point there. So I push the T button, and the treatment light comes on, and now it is providing a sedating treatment because that was a silver point. And there's gold, so I'm treating that. And again, providing the appropriate frequency for the area that I'm treating. And just like that, as you scan through, you get a light and you get a sound when you find a point. There's a very active gold point right there. So treating that with tonification. And it's just that simple. When I'm done with the concha, push the button, go up, and then I'm ready for the triangular fossa, superior helix, and so on. So one way to use this is to just scan the ear and treat what you find, period. You don't even have to know what the points are. If you scan them, it finds the points that need treatment, it provides the appropriate treatment, and then you move on to the next point. And although that sounds like a shotgun method, it's actually very much the opposite of a shotgun method. And in a minute, we're going to explain the results we've seen with that. But the other way to treat, before we finish with treating, and that is to use a chart. So, for example, let's say you have a specific condition or a specific problem. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up a chart here in. So, being that I'm treating a left ear, then I'm going to switch and flip the image to a left ear so that it matches what I'm looking at. And then, using that protocol, I can simply scan. So if I turn my camera on, I know I'm in a small little corner here. But if I look at this, it says that I'm going to start by just scanning some very specific points. And so around here, I've got these 3 points. I've got wrist, forearm, and elbow. And so I could simply scan those points and see if I find anything that's active. And then whatever I find, I treat. Now, in this case, I'm not finding anything active there, probably because she doesn't have a problem with her wrist, forearm, or elbow. But assuming I had a patient and I was doing an actual case, then that's exactly what I would do. I would check each one of those points. When I found one that was active, I would treat it. And I would just use the chart as my guideline for what points to look at. Any of them that are active, I would treat, and then move on to the next one. And it's very simple, very fast, and very effective. So there we go. Thank you very much. All right, let me turn my screen off. And now with that, why don't we answer a few more questions? Mary Jill says, is there a treatment duration period setting on the device? Or is, whoops, it just moved. Or is treatment done when the light extinguishes? Actually, treatment is manual and it's up to you. You can hold the treatment for as long as you want. And then as soon as you let go of the T button, then it's measuring again immediately. So you let go of T, you're back in measurement mode, and you can see how the point changed. And therefore, if the point had a certain number of, sorry about that, if the point had a certain number of bars showing when you started, and then you treat it, and then there are fewer bars showing, you treat it again, and there are still fewer bars showing, you can do that until you think you've kind of satisfied the point, until you've gotten maximum change in the conductivity. So treat, and then it goes automatically back to measuring. That's one way to do it. Another way is to simply have kind of a number of seconds that you like to treat it for that long, and move on to the next point. So it's really up to you either way. Let's see. Azam says, how often should we repeat the treatment? That's a great question. One of the nice things about auricular is that you're not going to do harm, you're not going to overdose. So if you were to treat each day, for example, that would be fine. In fact, in acute cases where somebody's really in pain or really has a problem, I recommend treating one ear one day and one ear the next, and you can kind of alternate that way as well. Kimberly, do you have anything to chime in there? How often to treat?
I treat just as often as I ever did. I didn't change it up because I had Pointselect. It's a matter of what fits into my normal treatment strategy.
Okay, great. Spike says, are the Nogier frequencies listed in the Auriculo 3D software, are they rounded up slightly compared to the chart? Yeah, they are. In the Auriculo 3D software, see this chart here, which is precise down to the 10th of a hertz. And I covered kind of earlier that in the Auriculo 3D, you've got this rounded where they're 5, 10, 20. Those were kind of the popular rounded ones. Or you've got the really specific ones, 2.28 hertz versus 2.3. That's part of why we included this, because these numbers exactly match the numbers that you're going to see in your Pointselect digital device. All right. This is the time to ask any other questions. Meanwhile, while you're getting your questions in, I'm going to show you just a couple of more slides here, just some really exciting results that we've been having, and then we're going to finish up. So here we go. We talked about the auricular anatomy and the frequencies. Now I wanted to show you this because this is the chart that kind of really did it for me. Kimberly told me, Adrian, you've got to take a look at this. And she sends me this picture. And I'm going, what did you do? And she said that she had actually graphed somebody using AccuGraph. And then she had treated them with Pointselect and graphed them again, which you're not supposed to do. But she hadn't treated the body at all. She hadn't treated the acupuncture meridians. So she graphed and graphed again, and that's fine. What she had done is just the ear. And all she had done on the ear was what I first showed you a few minutes ago, and that is scan and treat what you find. You don't even have to know the names of the points. Simply scan for the active points. The Pointselect knows what they need. It gives them what they need. And with this before and after graphing, this is minutes apart. Kimberly, am I getting it right? Is that what happened?
That is what happened. I was obviously, when I take a new device into my clinic, I'm always trying it out, making sure if it doesn't change the graph, then I'm not interested. And obviously, I knew I could change the graph because auriculoterapy changes the graph, but I wanted to know if I could change the graph immediately. And my patients are always asking me, what new tool are we using today? And I said, well, we have this new ear thing. And they said, you're not going to use your little white one? And I said, no, we're going to use this one. And so I just asked my patient if they could be patient with me while I was practicing and learning this new thing. And so I graphed them. And then when I graphed them again, the patient looked at me and I looked at them and I said, you got to hang on a second. I need to take a screenshot and send this to my boss because this is not normal. This is exciting. And so it doesn't even matter what that patient's chief complaint was. I'm pretty sure she was just a wellness patient and coming in for her monthly wellness visit. And what I did was I took each zone of the ear and I scanned it accordingly, and I treated whatever I found and according to the frequency in that area of the ear. And then when I was done, I regraphed, and that was the results that I got immediately. And this isn't the first time. This is happening. This is happening over and over again. And it just puts more confidence in me knowing that I can put the body in balance with a quick ear scan. It changed everything for wellness patients or that new patient who comes in and they're talk, and you don't have a lot of time left for the treatment. I know that I can give them an effective treatment simply by scanning the ear. So I used to think that you needed body points and you use the ear to seal the deal with auriculoterapy. And I still do that, especially for pain-related conditions. But I am very convinced that I can scan the ear and put the body in balance as my root treatment. And it's been pretty exciting.
Very cool. Yeah, and she actually, once we saw this, Kimberly said, all right, we're going to test this. And so everybody at the office, we pressed into service as test subjects. And we set up a round robin rotation where they'd go to Kimberly's office and get graphed, come to my office, and I would just scan the ear and treat what I found. And they go back to Kimberly's office for an after graph, and before and after. And on every one of them, we saw radical improvements in the graph just from scanning and treating the ear. We were really impressed. Tell us really quick about this one, Kimberly. This is another case you sent over to me.
I know. And this one was so the first one was early on when we were doing the research on this, but I didn't expect that I was doing a favor for someone. I had somebody coming into my clinic and I was treating them. And so I had a major belt rock. She had a migraine. She'd had a migraine for days. And I said, before I treat you with needles, I said, can I try something? Because, she was there to be practiced on. So I graphed her, then I scanned the ear. I didn't even treat any pain related points. So I hadn't gone in to focus on the migraine and where the location was. And I didn't choose a migraine protocol on Auricular 3D. I simply scanned the ear and, treated what I found and then regraphed her. And I have to say, her headache was not 100% gone just with balancing the meridians, but it was gone by half just simply by scanning the ear. And if I was only doing auriculotherapy for that patient, I probably, after scanning the ear, would have gone in and then treated very specific according to a graph and the pain. But it was a very effective root treatment. And a belt block like that, how many times have we had conversations about this in our forum and how hard it is to fix the belt block and what's going on? This was literally a scan of the ear and it changed.
Wow. Really impressive. Uh-oh. Echo. Okay, looking at this one, we've got another one. This was just a before and after with an ear scan, correct?
Yes, and this was 2 days ago. I actually posted some pictures about this in the forum. So anybody who knows me, I rarely get a split, and I'll chase it down. I'll go and make sure it's not a split. And this little guy was interesting. He had again, this was just a friend of a friend, and they said, "Hey, would you mind graphing this little guy and see what you find?" And he had immunizations at the age of 5, and after his immunizations, he had reverted back to be the age of 2 years old in all of his mentality and his talking and his vocabulary and everything. And
So he'd been a normal, developed 5-year-old with mentality, vocabulary, functioning, and after the vaccinations, then he regressed.
So it was exciting to see on a graph that he was so imbalanced between left and right, and then he was so out of balance. I was thinking, oh, this is full on a divergent treatment, but there was no way that little guy was going to let me do a divergent treatment on him, put needles in him and have wires attached to him. So quick, I'm thinking in my brain, what am I going to do? And so I grabbed my lasers first and I began treating points. I could maybe get 2 seconds into each point because he wasn't interested in the laser on his body. We did it a little bit. But then I thought, oh, look, I have this cool thing. So I pulled out the tool and I had him hold the grounding bar and we just started playing beep, 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 beep. And he liked that and he allowed me to scan his ear. So after scanning his ear, we regraphed him and I was floored. I was just really floored. I don't know why I keep getting floored because I'm seeing it over and over again, but it was so exciting to know that we could make changes that fast in the body and simply just by scanning the ear. I didn't even have to know an exact protocol. I love the exact protocols, don't get me wrong. I like those when I'm going in for very specific treatment. But to put the body in balance that I could just scan and treat is phenomenal.
Outstanding. Okay, couple of more things. We get asked a lot, hey, which one should I buy now that we've got 2 devices for auricular And so here's kind of the quick Cliff's Notes comparison. If you're looking for something that's portable, you can keep in your pocket, keep in your purse, affordable, convenient, give good basic treatment, then the Stim Plus Pro is great for that. And I still use it for that. I still keep it on my nightstand at home. If you're looking for something that's full featured and capable, that can do all the treatments that you want, provide the right frequencies for more effective care, and tonify and sedate, well, then you want the Pointselect Digital. So there's the comparison. Hopefully that answers questions. I still use both, but I'm really excited about the new capabilities I've gotten by adding the Pointselect Digital to my toolbox.